talking about developing while black. Give up for Greg Nwosu.
Is it going to come on the screen? Oh, yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Right. Fantastic. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good? Right. Good. Good, good, good. I'm going to be talking about OBDS, which is Only Black Developer Syndrome. I don't know how many people in here are developers, but I get the impression there's quite a few of you, right? Quite a few black developers. And often when you get into the tech industry, you find that there's mostly white people there. So that's what I'm going to be kind of approaching. We're going to be just talking about that, how it feels. Initially, I was thinking to myself, oh, I'll go there and I'll tell everybody about my experience and give all tips to youngsters or whatever. But I just thought I don't have all the answers actually. And what I did instead is I went through and I got lots of stories from different people, and it's kind of going to just be a shared experience. And so we can get to understand what it's like. In the background is Turpin House. It's on the crossroads of southwest London, crossroads of Queenstown Road and Battersea Park. Growing up, I used to call it Legoland because the council decided to paint it all these kind of garish, bright yellow colours and bright green colours. And I lived there, and that's where I grew up on the fourth floor. There was on my floor there was a prostitute, drug dealer, one alcoholic, and a crime family, and there was also this a young woman who made it big in America in the 1980s with native tongues called Moni Love, and she made loads of money in the States with De La Soul and Tribe Called Quest, and she never came back. So one day, my dad, he came back home, and I came into the living room, and I said, "Yeah, what's going on, Dad?" And he's like this. And I was like, "What are you doing? You're having a stroke or something?" But it turns out, like Nigerian men like to point with their lips. So he was pointing. He was pointing over to the corner, and I went over to the corner, and in the corner was a ZX Spectrum, and I thought, great, I could get to play some games and get my game on until I realised I don't know how old people are here because kind of black don't really crack, so I can't really tell so easy how old people are. But back in the day, games were a bit rubbish basically, and out of all the rubbish games, the ZX Spectrum had the worst games. Like you went over a corner and your head turned blue. I mean, it was awful. So I started learning to program. I started using it to program, and after about 20 years, I've I've learned a number of different programming languages. I program in Java, Python, Haskell, Scala. I've started my own company called Hebo. I do some sort of mentoring. I do workshops with children, teaching them how to program. I've achieved a lot of things. And also, I was going to come up here and say, actually, I'm running a consultancy, and we're doing big data. Currently, I'm a freelance programmer, but I haven't quite got to the consultancy stage yet. I want to get to the stage where I'm licensing software, and basically, it's me trying a thing. I always, from the beginning of my career, from when I was about 20 years old, when I first started programming, I got my first salary, people paying into my bank account, and I was like, you know what? Let me try a thing. Let me just try a thing. Let me learn that Java that everybody's raving about, and let me see if I can get some more money. So I spent 1 month programming and learning from a book. Went to an interview, got the interview. My salary went up by 10k, and that's quite good for a month. So after that, I was like, you know what? Let me try a thing. Let me let me let me um let me let me let me go into let me try and be one of them consultants, yeah. So I got myself a new suit, saved up my money, got myself polished off my shoes, went to another interview, managed to get into consultancies. Oh, let me try ting. Let me try ting. Let me get um into the city, yeah, where all the finance guys are. So I went into the finance. I started learning a little bit about finance, studied bond yields, got a job, and went up again. So my advice, my first piece of advice, yeah, for all people, all of us who are in software, is try a thing, yeah. Always try a thing, yeah. So we want to talk about only black developer. Can you have a look at this picture and can you see if you can see any irregularities? Is there anything? You know what I mean? You used to watch Sesame Street. One of these things ain't quite where it should be, or let me give you a clue. This is actually, okay, I got this picture from the internet, and it was an all company picture, all company software house, and I just thought, I wonder how that guy feels. How how does he really, really feel? How does he really, really feel? He looks quite comfortable, to be honest. He looks quite comfortable, he looks quite happy to be where he is, but then I start to think to myself, how must it feel to be the only black developer? Why? Can they not find anybody else? Or am I the token? Would you feel like you're the token person in the company? What kind of psychological impact might that happen? And one of the things that sometimes happens when we're in an environment where there's a lot of people that are unlike ourselves is that we kind of try to blend in. We forget our own identity. We dilute ourselves. And at the moment, what we need in the software industry is diversity. We need different opinions. We need creativity. So sometimes you might find that you suffer from imposter syndrome. And there's a really brilliant comedian who I'm just about to play now. White people and black people and their approach and how much they feel that they belong in the workplace, particularly when they're looking at maybe getting fired or something. So I'm just going to play that now. Hopefully the sound. Doesn't it? That just sums it up. We kind of, we're the last hired, we're the first fired. We often don't feel that we deserve to be there. But one of the messages that I really want to get across is that you do. You really do. You do more than you know. Does anybody know what this is a picture of? Has anybody seen this? All right, so I don't need to go into too much detail, but this is the privilege race. And here, this is a social experiment where this guy said, here's $100 bill. You guys are going to dash 100 meters. And the very first person to get across the finish line is going to get the $100 bill. But before that, I want to ask the field a certain amount of questions. It was a group of mostly black and white people from all different areas. And he said things like, take a step forward if you've never had to worry about where your next meal is coming from. Take a step forward if you had two parents in your family. Take a step forward if you've always had your mobile phone connected. You've never had it disconnected. And it was a social sort of experiment to show in very physical terms privilege. And after about 20 questions. You looked across the field, and yeah, it was mainly white people at the front. Then, most of the black people at the back. And he said something that really stuck with me. He said, if this was a fair race, most of the black guys and black women at the back would smoke the rest of you guys. Yeah? And so I thought, actually, if this is an analogy of what privilege is in society, this must apply to us. So we've had to be better than good enough to get to where we are. We've had to be exceedingly good. And I can't, it's very important to me that everybody feels that. When you go into work, you've probably had to do more than the majority of your peers to be there. And then you need to remember that each and every day, and that's really important. There's something, I don't know what it is, maybe it's just threats and beats from my dad, but that keeps you going and going and trying to succeed in all types of situations, even in an unfair race. Most people will just give up, right? And there's something else that's really kind of key, is that we've been doing this for a long time, not just in tech, but we can see that we've had people who have been working in situations where there isn't that privilege, that they've been in unfair situations and they've achieved. And we've also had everybody following the stuff that we do. We've created the black community, from my analysis, creates a new genre of music every 10 years. That just blows my mind whenever I think about that, because do you know how saturated the music industry is? It's like, since people picked up a drum in caveman days, people have been making music. But yet we find the space to innovate in that space every 10 years and completely revolutionize the way it works. Now imagine if we put that creativity towards technology. Imagine if every 10 years we completely reinvented technological space. That is who we are, and that is what we're capable of. So just going back to some things that you might experience as the only black developer, or developing while black, is you just might experience silly side comments. I had this, just to share a story, I had a friend of mine, and he was well-meaning. He was like a white guy, and he was nice, he was posh. I'm sure he didn't have that many black friends. We're all typing at work, and we had to produce a report, and he said, it's all, this communication's all on Slack. And he says, says to someone else, Peter, can you get those files for me that I need for the system? And Peter was like, yeah, sure. And then someone else says, oh, Dave, let's just call him Dave. Says, Dave, can you produce a report? And he's like, sure. Then he has to ask me something. And he says, Greg, my man, can you transfer the files from the database? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that for you. Sure, I'll do that. My man. And see, he didn't really, he was trying, it was a well-meaning sort of error, but like, he didn't really connect with me. And I think that's just one of the techniques that we can use. I call it the mirror technique. So if someone does something to you that is kind of a little bit silly, a little bit off, they refer to you in the wrong way, just reflect it back at them. Just say to them, what, you calling me my man? I mean, is this what? It's a 1970s blaxploitation movie? I mean, how How are you, at least, flavor it up with fam or call me bruv or, like my man, really? Like, so that's a thing. But sometimes things can get a little bit tricky. And I heard a story about one of the guys from one of the groups I'm on. It's the Algo Trader group. Any Algo traders in here? Yeah. Um, and one of the guys said that he was in the office and what happens now? He's in the office and someone says, I should call out his name. I'll call him L, right? I'll call him L. Someone says to him, L, you're from the ghetto, aren't you? And he's like, I don't know what you mean. What do you mean, ghetto? He did know. And L was like, and then the guy's like, you know what I mean? Social housing. Ghetto. And then he's like, does your mum know what an asshole you are? And he kind of reflected it back at him. He gave as good as he got. So the second sort of technique that I would probably say was really useful is using a bit of humor, and that kind of that can also be a way of deflecting problems. And then we get to the bits where people are just outright offensive. Um, After I've lived in Turpin House for quite a few years, I then my father passed away, and I got a new job. I wasn't quite, you know, myself for a little bit, and I joined a new company. They were all very nice. Used to go out for drinks quite a lot. I used to get drunk with them, hang out, and talk. And then what happened? One evening, we were all sitting around at the pub, had a really good time, and one woman, the secretary of the company, she says to me, "Oh, Greg, I've got a really funny joke, but I don't really want you to get offended." So I'm like, "Go on." She says, "What's the difference between a black man and a 12-inch pizza?" I'm like, "Don't know." It's like a 12-inch pizza can feed a family of four. I'll just leave that there. Sometimes you gotta keep it real. Sometimes you got to keep it real. One of the guys from the Alga group again told me a story about how someone had offended him similarly at work, and he just gave him the pimp hand. I'll just be straight. Just gave them the backhand slap in the office, straight, rang out, and for a moment there was silence. Just the echo of the slap on the wall. I won't really advise this kind of behavior, but what I do advise is maintaining dignity at all costs. Because when you're running the privilege race, when you're running the race where it's actually unfair from the get go, the only thing that keeps you going is your dignity and your sense of self esteem. It's what got you here, and it's what will get you to the next place. And you need to protect that at all costs. Even if you need to slap someone and lose your job, you need to protect that. So, what did I do? What did I do when the woman told me the pizza joke? I let it slide. Sorry, guys. I'm up here preaching, but sold out. Sold out. Didn't say anything. I was so shocked. I didn't know what to do. I was stunned. I didn't know how to respond. I mean, these people I've been chilling with, they've been buying me drinks. I was a job. Had rent to pay. But I sold out, and for a while, that was the worst. That was the worst feeling, really, because I didn't even respect myself. You know, it's a bad thing. It's a really bad thing. It's a really bad thing. I kind of I blinked and I choked. Didn't laugh, but I didn't say anything. And that leads me to my next tip. Oh, actually, there's another clip. There's another clip, and it's just a little bit of light-hearted, but it's kind of light-hearted, but it's kind of real. But it's a little bit of light-hearted stuff about what happens when sometimes you know, you just caught out. You just don't know what to say. Yeah. So I want to say first of all that it was Shakespeare he said this. He said, "A coward dies 1,000 deaths, yet the valiant man suffers death but once." So my tip to you is, much. You're worth too much to ever do that. Use the mirror technique, or speak out. Protect your self-esteem at all costs. Is what got you here. You don't have to respond to everything at the time, but there's no time like the present. So the good side is, about 3 days later, I went back to that woman and I was like, you know what, that joke was out of order, and I put her straight. I didn't slap her, but I put her straight. And remember, it's not just about you. There are other people that are going to have to work in that organization and that company as well. It's about the people in the race with you. It's about you and your people at the back. So yeah, don't let anything slide, because a lot of time in especially in tech industry, because it's a it's a it's a industry of thought, of mind. It's cognitive. It's things where it's a career where you have to use your brain. A lot of time people are going to try and say, "Oh, you can't do that," or or that idea wasn't yours. They'll attribute some of your successes to someone else. Don't let a single thing slide. Don't let a single thing slide. It's not worth it. The phone, the phone, like I the phone has been such a useful tool for all of us recently who have been experiencing racism, recording stuff. I call this technique the pen, right? So we've had the mirror, we've had humor, reflection. Now this is the pen. Record stuff. If things are going wrong, people are talking in a way that you don't really like, if there's a whole office of people acting up to you and you can't necessarily take them on, you don't want to let it slide either, then be like Han Solo. That's the there's this clip in Star Wars. Han Solo in the bar. One of Jabba's bounty hunters comes to him, and first of all he tries to finesse his way out of the situation. Right? He's like, oh yeah, tell him I'm gonna pay him back. Just chill. Give me a couple more weeks and make it happen. It gets to the point where he realizes this conversation is going south. It's about to go down, and he kind of just keep the conversation going, just slowly reaches for the holster. In that situation, if you're in a situation at work where you know it's about to pop off, someone says to you, hey, I got this joke, but I don't want you to take offense. Just say, yeah, okay, yeah, right, yeah, just, yeah, tell me about the joke, yeah? Do that, yeah? I call it the Han Solo. Be like Han. Smooth. Be smooth. Oh, and have allies. You need to have people in your workplace who you can trust, who you can offload the emotional burden to of what you're going through. Yeah. So find your allies. Find the people in the workplace you can trust. And people come in all shapes and sizes, right? There's all different types of people here, but who and you could choose whoever you want, really. And I guess most people will be like, yeah, all right, we'll go with this one, right? But skinship isn't kinship. Yeah? You might think, oh yeah, she gotta have my back, but when the chips are down, it might be Carlton that steps up. Can't be like, let's ride. So you can't really tell. But you always get your clues. And what I mean by you always get your clues is if you're in a situation where people are not being nice to you, look around at how other people respond. Yeah? How other people respond will be a good indication of where their mind is at and how likely they are to back you up. You never know. One of the clues that I always look for is the black man nod. Now, I'm not sure if everybody knows about the black man nod because it's kind of almost died out. But the older people, especially older men, would know about the black man nod. Back in the day, you're walking down the street, you see another brother. So yeah, what's up, man? What's up? It was basically just a way of saying, I'm on code. I'm with you. I'm on your side. Over time, the black man nod has just turned to like a little nod like that. And now it's even a micro nod. It's like, most people don't see it. Yeah, most people don't see the black man nod anymore. But like over the years, I can detect a black man nod from miles away. Yeah, I'll be like just chilling. So oh, a guy across the road, three tables deep, just gave me the black man nod. So have your allies, and allies are really useful, really really useful. This is my so yeah, have your allies, form your networks. And this is my and stay connected. So once you've got your network of people, they travel with you. They don't necessarily, it's not just people in the workplace, but you make the connection and they travel with you. Wherever you are, you can talk to them. I've got WhatsApp groups of different, I've got the Algo guys, got some other friends from other work. And this is me working in Emacs, say for example. And I like to do this because I get to chat at work and my boss doesn't know. Because over here is code, and over here is IRC. And then an IRC is like a chat program, but it looks like code, right? So I just get to talk. And then if I got any questions, I say to I can say to my friend, oh, Prez, what's a monad transformer? How does it work again? How can I do this? Stay connected to your networks, feed into your networks, and also draw out your networks. It's really important. And
you don't need to educate people. So if you're finding it, how can I say this? If you're finding it that you're in these situations, you don't need to explain to people why it's wrong. You don't need to make them feel good again. You just need to be out. Just like sexual harassment is a problem for men that negatively affects women. It's a thing that men need to address. It's a thing that men need to stop when they hear it in the locker room or in other private spaces. Just like that, racial harassment is a problem for other races who harass us that negatively affects us. You don't need to make them feel good again after you cuss them or after you slap them. You just need to be out. That's it. They need to work it out themselves. There's a very famous article. I think it was. Oh, I've got 10 minutes. Right, okay. Very famous article about why. How's it? Right. Can't remember the title now. It's why I've stopped explaining racism to white people. Yeah. So she talks about this author. She talks about, a lot of people, if they don't get it by now after 400 years, yeah, they don't want to listen. Basically, they're not interested. Yeah. So just save your energy. There was another recent article by a woman for the Guardian called Joma, and she basically said, when your anti-racism work starts to prioritize the feelings of other races over the dignity and humanity of your own, it's no longer anti-racism work, it's white supremacy. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about educating other people. The tragedy. You've seen this? This is like the last scene from what's it called? Planet of the Apes, right? And it's where this guy, he goes through this time warp and he gets to the planet. He gets to this strange planet. It's run by apes, and he's trying to find his way home. And he goes through all these trials, and then finally the chief says to him, he says, "You can find your way home. Go to the beach. Find your destiny. You will find the truth and stuff." And he gets to the beach and he realizes that he's been transferred into an alternate reality or some strange time warp, and he actually is at home. But the only difference is he's alone. And what I'm trying to the thing why I think this is really relevant is because if you make it to a big company, or to a successful tech startup, if you're a Googler, if you're in an investment bank, you got to bring your people through. It's not good enough just to make it and be, yeah, my ass is over the bridge, yeah, like, you got to bring your people through, otherwise there's an empty victory. He made it back to Earth. Look at him. It's not enough to make it by yourself. You've got to bring your people through. And as we've already established, we're good enough. We're more than good enough. So just really quickly, I know I'm running out of time. It's not just a fight for yourself, but it's also a fight for the future. In the future, society is going to be structured and maintained and organized by technology. We've got to get into this game now. My girlfriend, she sent me a link saying the racism of technology and why driverless cars could be the most dangerous example yet, because driverless cars were not, had failed to identify some black people and had knocked them, it nearly knocked them over. And now the narrative in the press is it's racist cars. No, it's not racist cars. It's biased training. It's the people that are putting training data of just white people in there. And soon, if we're not careful, we're going to have racist technology without any accountability. It's going to be machine did it. It's not our fault. Yeah, so we need to get into the game now. We need to get in there, get engaged, bring our people through, and do, and change the narrative or the way the society is being structured. and it's not that far away. It's a small video here of, I'm not going to play it though. Small video here of a man trying to get soap out of the toilet. The black man can't get soap out of the toilet dispenser because he won't recognize his. I might just play it real quick.
Nice. Okay, Noel.
So yeah, you can see. I mean, I'm going to be mad if I'm getting run over by cars and I can't wash my hands after going to the toilet. That's it. That's me. I'll be out with my gun. I'll just be, you know, I'll go wild, right? So let's not allow this to happen. So in summary, don't let it slide. Don't be like me. Don't be like me. Don't let a single thing slide. If people are trying to, you know, attribute different things to other people, don't let a single thing slide. No points for free, yeah? You're already running an unfair race. If you can't fight in the office or answer back, be like Han, be smooth. Get connected. I know a number of other people have said this, but build your networks and maintain your networks. Yeah? Stay connected, feed into your networks. And yeah, don't be like Heston and Planet of the Apes, bring your people through. All right, I think that's it. Thank you very much.